So we have one which is how often should one recalibrate a scale and the best way to share brewing specifications? Which that's a two-parted question.
Um, so how often should you calibrate a scale? I probably only calibrate if you're at home, maybe like once a week.
Yeah.
Um, if you're if you have access to the calibration weights, I would suggest maybe you could do it as you're dialing in. But like once you power on the scale, you can do a quick calibration with the 100 gram or the 500 gram calibration weights uh, at um, at the coffee shop. I'm
Yeah.
gonna turn that light out.
We also, I think it was also if you've just moved your scales, if you just like, especially now if you're like your coffee shop has been maybe closed for a while or you haven't been making coffee at home, which you
Yeah,
should
no doubt.
because it's lockdown in most places. You can, if you move the scale, it's also a good idea to like do a smart calibration.
Yeah, definitely. Reach out to us if it seems a little funky, or if maybe like when you're going to calibrate your scale and if it's saying error 304 with your calibration. If you recently moved, we've had a couple people where maybe they were like moving in the process of moving, and so they packed up their scales, like one of the things that they packed up like earlier in the month, and then didn't get around to unpacking it, so they just like kept going out to get coffee, and then when they went to go use their scale, it seemed a little bit off. So maybe it just got jostled around a little too hard during the move, and it just kind of threw off the calibration.
Yeah. Yeah, if it's I think it's like if it's like starts by going up by increments of like 0.5 for no reason, like a ghost scale.
The ghost drift. It's like the MI4 ghost protocol of Acaia coffee scales.
So actually, one thing I wanted, I think I had someone ask, but it's now lost, but I have it written down. Someone was asking what the difference between the modes are. So I guess it can depend on which scale you're using.
Totally.
Yeah.
That person had a second question.
Yeah.
So I just hit that before we move on. Second question was best way to share your coffee recipe, I believe. So you have a couple options if you have Pro Model S. You can create your own brew guide, upload it to the scale, but you can also share it via like a URL or a QR code, which is really great.
Yeah.
We have a couple partners that already have their brew guides uploaded to the brew guide app, and then we are currently in talks with like I think 10 major coffee companies within the U.S. I think the pandemic kind of hit us hard as far as like hit everybody hard.
Oh yeah.
As far as keeping track of that and kind of like losing focus on that project, and now we're kind of coming back around.
Yeah, I even saw people sharing their QR codes on like Instagram stories for people to
That's
try out.
awesome.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
pretty cool. Yes. Let's find this.
What was that? Sorry, I moved on and then I forgot to hit that.
It's all good. I moved on and then we went back and then we were moving on again. What was I think it's the difference of modes.
So this is a rabbit's hole we can go down.
Yeah.
And I can grab the other scale. I'll go grab it real quick.
I have the lunar here anyway. And then
I think we have a couple blog posts about our scales and the modes available. One in particular, I think, is like the 2.0 firmware update for the Pearl. There's a really great article on that. And then there's one on the 2.6 firmware for the Lunar, which is also incredible. It just kind of like covers all of the different options available. I think one of the things I wanted to talk about was like some of my favorite modes.
Yeah.
But I'm using my phone. I guess I can just enter the settings. So one of my favorite modes for the original Pearl, this guy, or gal, they, them.
They. I would call it a pearl of they.
I appreciate that, yeah. I'm all about it. Let's see. My favorite mode is like the pour over auto start mode. It's essentially when you start, you like ready the timer and like tear out the scale by just tapping the power button. I'm going to turn it on right now, just kind of jump in it and like can just show you directly. Just need to turn it on. Got to remember which one it is out of all the modes. There's like a lot built in, a lot of cool stuff. And it kind of really depends on your use case, if you're using in a shop or if you're using at home. So this is actually turned on. And all right, I'm gonna flip this around, kind of see where we're at. Okay, so that's the weighing only mode. That's the weighing plus timer mode, weighing timer. And this is the pour over auto start mode. So you're just going to tap the power button. It starts blinking, so it's like ready to acknowledge weight and water and start your timer. So once it detects flow, it starts your timer.
Nice.
And I use this daily, and I love it more than anything. So for me, because you can like turn off and on modes with all of our scales, something I like to do is turn off that weighing plus timer, and then I'll dose out my coffee in the weighing only mode, and then I'll just switch, press and hold the power button, switch over to the pour over auto start mode, and I'm like ready to just brew coffee. And I just tap the power button, and I'm tearing out my scale, writing my timer, and that way like I can just focus on just pouring.
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah,
I love it.
I used to use on the Lunar, which is this mode. I think it's the cup mode. Oh man, when I worked in when I was still working in coffee shops, and we had like sort of coffee shops, we were doing like 1,000 cups a day. That was the handiest mode ever, because you could like literally put out so many coffees. Because what happens is that you put the cup on and it will immediately tear itself and start the timer, so you know exactly what the shot is. And so we had to, like, work in a very high specialty place, we had to keep an eye on every single shot time, and usually did like had to write them down like once an hour, like one of them once an hour. It was so
That's awesome.
yeah.
I wanted to mention, so that pour over auto start mode is also featured on the Pearl Model S, which I have queued up right here, and this is what it looks like. So it has this like little droplet, and then once it detects weight, it starts the timer. So
yeah, so handy.
So those are a couple of my favorite modes. So probably my favorite mode with the Lunar is that mode that you just featured, that triangle plus square mode, which is...
I just call it the little house mode, because it looks like a little house.
Yeah. That is the auto tear, which is the square, and then auto start timer, which is the triangle. And yeah, it's perfect. So I'll just slide my scale directly underneath the group head, grab my cup, set it on the scale, and then as I'm like going to like start my shot, or like whether I'm like moving the paddle or I'm like pressing the button, my scale is auto tearing and auto starting the timer as I'm like pulling my hand away from the paddle or from the button.
Yeah.
So you're almost like, if it's not like 100% synced at the same time, we're talking like the difference of a second.
Yeah.
And a lot, if
It's
you're working in a shop, like most machines will have a timer already built into it. Some of those like switch button Lineas
yeah.
obviously don't.
There was the really old school like paddle ones, which like you had to switch the paddle over. But it was so
Yeah,
handy because then you got into such a flow that you didn't even have to press any buttons. And if you had to
yeah,
like switch to another scale, it'd be very difficult.
yeah. Um, I was I was testing out a new firmware not too long ago, and I had my Pro Model S in the portafilter mode, which is like a favorite mode of the Pro Model S. And I'm just like, grabbing my portafilter, cleaning it out, tossing it on or I'm gently placing it on the Pro Model S. Um, it's auto tearing. I'm able to purge the group head, like wipe down the drip tray as that's like auto tearing. Then I'm grinding. I'm using the Bratza Sete 270W. Um, and I'm just like pressing play. It's grinding automatically. Uh, all the automation is just, I don't know, it makes things so easy. Bring the portafilter back, and then I'm using that auto tear, auto start timer on the Lunar. Um, it just speeds up workflow. You can adjust the timeout or time the timeout on the Pro Model S on that portafilter mode. That's something with a recent firmware update that's already been released, not the test version.
Mm,
Um, yeah, and so you can adjust that for your workflow. Yeah, it's just kind of crazy how amazing these scales are. I mean,
yeah.
obviously, I get paid by this company, but I'm also blown away by the tech.
Yeah,
Like
I
I'm
think most of
proud.
the people who worked in coffee before starting with Acaia, which is like pretty much the majority of us, all
100%. Yeah.
used all used
Uh,
lunars or pearls or something like that,
yeah.
or the many scales. Uh, so do you want to speak about any more modes, or do you want to move on to another question? This one's
We can. Yeah, those are like probably all of my favorite modes within uh, the Acaia scales.
yeah. So this is a question that actually we can really talk about the tech inside the scales. So someone was asking why the scales have such a high price point, and I
Sure.
would say for it's because of what's actually inside the scales.
Totally. Um, yeah, the quality of ingredients, you could say.
Mm,
And it's like buying a burger from McDonald's and getting a steak from a steakhouse that's importing their steaks.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I mean, we use industrial scale parts, and those cost considerably more. The like cost of our scales, like the materials cost of the scales, the cogs or whatever, um, are beyond the retail cost of your Jennings, of your Hario, of competitors, like what we would say are other scales within the coffee industry. Like our parts cost more than that. That says a lot to me. We are a scale company. You have other companies that maybe have a focus on different avenues. We are an industrial scale company with quality parts. Um, yeah, and we're also putting a lot of human labor. Like these scales are hand assembled and quality tested before they ship out. So
yeah, yeah. No, it's so good, and like I think uh, we always and also like obviously the customer support stuff is part of that too. Is that usually you're going to get an answer pretty quickly, and if you don't, it's likely because it's like a weekend or something.
weekend, holiday, yeah,
Yeah,
we try to cover all bases. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, it's like pretty much like 24-hour Monday to Friday
Yeah.
feedback. Uh, yeah, because even like I think we've even had like people tell us that they've been using them for scientific experiments and in
Yep.
hospitals and stuff.
Yep. Hospitals, research facilities. We've we've definitely been contacted by several universities saying that they use our scales. I know that we have worked with, was it Maxwell Colonial Dash? I can't remember.
Maxwell Colonial Kelowna Dash
Yeah,
Red.
there you go.
Yeah. Peak man.
Yeah, I love that nickname.
God, don't tell him.
Oh yeah, we did a like a special winner for him at one point in time. He requested like a lower, smaller capacity, but higher resolution. So being able to do hundredths of a gram as opposed to just tenths of a gram.
Yeah.
And that's something that we've worked with, and then probably use that to kind of, I don't know for sure, but probably use that when doing some QC for that peak water.
Yeah, because I know they were using it for what's this? University users go. Oh, that's Chris Hendon as well.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. You know
Uh,
what? You're right. Sorry.
yeah. But no, but they
I,
were working together.
yeah.
So I think Chris Hendon, he's been in like I believe he's used our scales for a number of experiments and such.
Yeah.
And then there was the espresso one in Sydney or Melbourne or something that also used
Possibly.
their scales.
We've been contacted for people that are just testing how quickly tar evaporates.
Tar evaporates.
Yeah, someone within Oregon. I've and they've tried to use our apps in partnership with that, just to kind of like track how quickly weight is evaporating.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean it's all kinds of crazy uses for the scales.
So I have this is a question I think we get quite a bit. So how do I change the battery, old battery? What kind of battery should I buy?
Don't buy a battery. You should only be getting your batteries from us. And like a couple things kind of play into that. Let me grab a battery. If possible, if you're in the US, just have us replace it. We're going to get it back in there the way it's intended to get in there. So the length of this wire, it's not too crazy long. And there's a reason for that. And like how this is orientated within the scale into your circuit board.
Yeah.
Depends on the scale. This is used for the original Pearl and the Lunar, so it has the same battery. But how that's placed into the scale, obviously, this plug goes into the circuit board, right? But you need to wrap the charging port wires and the battery wires around them themselves like X amount of times. Stuff needs to be taped down, stuff needs to be clipped down. I don't recommend that people replace the batteries themselves. And I know there's like a ton of people that are like, I work on espresso machines all the time. I know what I'm doing. And yes, you're getting the plug into the circuit board. Yes. But we see a lot of times where people will replace the battery themselves and then the scale is drifting because it wasn't clipped down correctly or it wasn't taped down correctly. And so you're seeing drift. I was contacted by a person earlier this week saying, hey, I just recently replaced a battery and it's now showing a different issue. And the issue is that it's drifting like only like half a gram or 1 gram every couple of seconds or 10 seconds. And the issue was that the battery wasn't clipped down properly.
Yeah, because it was touching the load cell.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't even want to think, because I know I've seen the insides of, which I don't recommend, don't open up your scale if you don't know what you're doing. Yeah, or unless we tell you to.
Yeah. If you contact us if something's going on, we'll provide instructions. We'll say like, go ahead and open up your scale. Just kind of shoot a photo of what's going on. Let's see, like, let's take a look. We might tell you to unplug your battery and plug it back in. We might tell you to unplug the micro USB charging cable as well. But really nothing beyond that. We'll provide you with specific instructions. We'll show you where to unplug and plug back in. The battery life is about 3 to 4 years. Now, if you're a home user, the battery in this Pearl is from 2014, as an example. It still works great because I'm not using it, say, every day. Maybe I'm using a different scale. But even leading up before using the Pearl Model S, it's just staying strong. Like, you charge it up maybe like once a month, once every 2 months.
Yeah,
and it holds strong.
I think I've charged like some of my scales maybe once every 2 months, maybe once every 3 months.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't need that, because I think about like there's obviously all these, if you message us and tell us what the issue is, we can usually fix it from just giving you like very easy instructions. But the issue is like, if you don't know what the issue is, you don't know where to start.
Sometimes just taking a video of like what's going on, just saying like, hey, like when I try to power it on, it's doing this. Like, it's just saying Acaia, or it's doing one thing or the other. Like, sometimes it's difficult to troubleshoot through just text, and just seeing something.
Yeah,
helps us out a ton.
And there was like, it's not a common issue, but I think it's like sometimes when people have dropped their scales, it starts doing the never stops beeping. Like, it makes the really high pitched noise.
That is almost always due to the battery is just slightly unplugged, and it might not be visually like, turned out of like the plug port. But that ringing is letting you know that it needs to be unplugged and plugged back in. And then we have videos, we have photos, we have troubleshooting that we can immediately apply to an email if you email us at support@acaia.co.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to do. I think it's like, so I would say don't change the battery yourself.
Yeah, I mean, yes, correct. We do have instructions if you're based in the US and you want to replace your original Pearl's battery. We do have instructions that we can provide you. I would recommend that we do it, that Acaia do it. We have a service center in Europe as well. Not all resellers globally have some parts, so charging ports and batteries, but not all.
Yeah.
So you might be able to get in contact with your reseller, get in contact with us. We'll get in contact with the correct people that are local to you. If you're in the US, hit us up. We'll take care of it.
So say if someone did go out and buy a battery themselves and then they plugged it in, what could happen with the scale?
We don't know if that battery is best intended for, though it may look similar, it might be delivering a higher charge. It could do damage to the circuit board. When you're going to charge it, that could also do damage to the circuit board. We don't recommend it. I don't recommend it at all. Reach out to us and let's try to get you the correct battery.
Yeah. Let's see. Also, I don't even know how anyone would be able to change like one of the Pixis batteries.
You can't. I mean, I guess you could, but it's, I believe, glued down.
It's glued down. Yeah, and I know, like, I think the battery is even different in the Pearl S because it has...
It's like double the size.
It's like a bigger circuit board and the LEDs and stuff.
Yeah. It's powering so much more. I think I have one of those right here.
There's someone asking questions that are definitely off topic, but appreciated. Someone just asked Xbox versus PlayStation. I play with scales, friend.
Um,
Whoops.
when quarantine hit, I started considering buying a gaming console and was leaning more towards a PlayStation, but I'm not much of a gamer.
Yeah.
As an example, here's the um, Pearl Model S, and this is the battery that we use for the Lunar and the Pearl. And
Yeah.
then I'm just right next to the spot where I keep my batteries. I feel like I have the Pixis batteries somewhere. Come on. I almost never have to dig into these because in comparison,
Oh, it's tiny.
yeah, super small. Do you have any other questions
Yes.
outside of?
So this was a question from a few days ago when we reached out. And someone asked about the difference between the three scales, but I guess it's actually four. We have not talked about charging port issues, but we can.
Sure.
We can do the difference between the three scales, or we can do the coffee guy's question, charging port issues.
What charging port issue are you experiencing?
Yeah, what? Because it's a pretty general question.
So I think it depends on is your scale displaying a charging light?
Yeah,
Let's
it's
see.
requiring some
Okay.
pressure in order for it to charge properly. Is this like a
So
Pearl S, maybe?
that could be either a Lunar or an original Pearl, likely. Um, so the scale will experience wear and tear over time on both the Lunar and the original Pearl.
Okay.
Yeah, just the Pearl. So that charging port could be replaced. I would actually suggest, in addition to say like the port experiencing wear and tear, um, check and see if a new cable like has like a really solid connection. Because there's
Yeah.
been times where someone will reach out to me and they're saying like, oh, it's barely staying in there, and it turns out it's due to like the wear on the pins of the cable itself, the connection pins. So if you're having a harder time keeping a connection and you have to kind of like angle it or whatever, I would suggest just run out, grab a new cord from like a big box store. So in the US, something like Best Buy or Target. I would not recommend buying something from like a bodega or just like a gas station or something like that.
Yeah.
Definitely go from like a larger box store. Even like Amazon can be kind of sketch every now and then. So just
Something that sounds way too good to be true for the price.
yeah,
It's usually a good
yeah.
marker.
Definitely would suggest just pick it up a new cord, seeing that immediately resolves your issue.
Yeah. We also usually like when people are messaging through any of the social media and they're asking like they're having an issue. With charging, I usually ask them to like send a photo of the charging port this way, because usually we can tell if it's been, because like
Damaged.
obviously like we've all been on bars and like on coffee bars and stuff where some people are careful with their items and other people aren't as caring.
Sure. I mean, it could just be just even like as business grows, you hire new team members, and new team members aren't as experienced with the product. Maybe they use scales, but didn't use Acaia scales, and so how you plug it in is just a little different. And maybe they tried the wrong way a couple times, and they did it the wrong way their entire first week.
Yeah.
They made the mistake, and then it wasn't until the second week that they just got the hang of it. But that first week, with that one person, caused a little bit of damage, and then 6 months later, you hired another new person. Same experience. We've seen some people mark the top of it, just put like a dot here, and then a dot on the cable itself, just like with like a silver metallic.
That's ingenious.
Yeah. No,
Oh my
and
God.
you just connect the dots, and it works great for cafes. That way, like if you're new, you can just say, "Oh, just connect the dots," and that new person knows what to do. It's especially within my first year. Been with the company about 4.5 years. First year, one of the things that we saw the most was just like charging port damage, and so that was like kind of a solution.
Yeah.
And we saw a slowdown because we would get several scales from the same coffee company, every like 4 months or something. And it was because they hired new people. Maybe they trained the previous people, but they hired new people, and those new people caused a bit of damage.
Yeah. And usually it's like very easy to replace charging ports sometimes. Yeah. Depending on the scale as well.
Super easy. It's like $6 for the part itself, so pretty inexpensive as well.
So
it's $6 within US. It probably is different.
I think it's like the same price in Europe, I guess. Just converted, like it's pretty cheap. So for the coffee guy, if you're having ongoing issues, I would recommend just maybe sending us a photo of trying the different cable first.
Start there. Yeah. There have been so many times where just a new cable just immediately resolves the issue. Like I get the scale thinking, oh, I'm going to definitely need to replace the charging port. But the first thing I do is just test the cable. And if the cable's the solution, then I'll just relay that information.
Nice. Whoops. Yeah, and if the new cable doesn't work, please just send us a photo of like the charging port, because then we can give you some other tips. So the other one was the difference between, I guess, our scales.
Yeah, there's a bit of difference.
Quite a bit of difference.
Let's see. I don't have a Pixis out, but I can grab one. Let's see. Giant drawer of scales. All right, I have a bit of a setup right here.
Nice.
This box can be a little troublesome sometimes. Oh, nice. When purchasing a scale, I would definitely try to figure out what your use case is. So if you're brewing mostly pour over, we have a scale that we would recommend for mostly pour over. If you're brewing mostly espresso, we're going to push you more towards the lunar, but if you're brewing mostly pour over, we're not going to say like, oh, definitely get the lunar because it's more expensive and we want to capture your, get all your money. It's not the case. We want you to have the scale that best works for your workflow. There are some features built into some scales that maybe aren't ideal for what you want to use it for, and we want you to be happy with the product. We don't want to just like do a one-time sale to you. All right, so flip this around. Just kind of see. This is the original Pearl, Lunar. This is the Cinco. If you see a black version of this, that's called the Pixis. We got the Pearl Model S. difference between these two. All right, you can see the display is a little different. One of my favorite things about this, so you can see there's not a whole lot of space between here, and you have to jump to full grams. On this, you got a little bit of space, and you're getting tenths of a gram. Also, your weight is larger, your time is a little smaller. Whereas this, we have one kind of circuit board, and it's got to display X amount of information. Higher capacity, 3,000 grams, 2,000 grams. So those are like the quick, like immediate differences between the Pro Model S with the Pro Model S. You also have Brew Guide. This will just...
So we can't actually see the LED. Whoop, there. Glad to hear it, coffee guy.
This will just run you through a recipe. The Pro Model S, definitely different user, different case scenario for, you know, kind of all depends on what do you want to get out of your coffee scale.
Yeah, I think we have a quiz actually somewhere that we put up
Oh, yeah.
on the website. Yeah, which we, it's usually because the question we have is what should I get between the Pearl and the Lunar? So yeah. I think like one of the questions we had were like, are you going to be mainly using it for cooking and for pour overs and just general like filter coffees? But for instance, like I use, and then we would recommend like the Lunar to people who are using espresso or like small pour overs, because I use like the Lunar has loads of modes built in with for espresso, but I use it for V60s like every single morning.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Or AeroPresses.
Is that your go-to?
V60s, yes.
Same.
Yeah. I have a what is it? It's the flatter one with the larger bed.
Flatter one with larger bed.
Yeah. You use silver.
Kalita?
Kalita. I have one, but you can't get papers for them anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's discontinued. But I also use like, I usually use my Pearl S for flow training. It's always really good for like teaching people. So like if you have like a training center where you teach people how to make coffee, I think it's like an excellent one.
It's genius, yeah. Like 100% genius.
So, and then, whoops.
So yeah, in addition to the difference between the two like Pro models, we've had some people reach out about, just turn this off, the Pixis and the Cinco, and the Pixis, or not the Pixis and the Cinco, but the Pixis and the Lunar.
Yeah.
So we got a Lunar here, and this is the size of the Pixis. Boom.
They're tiny.
Yeah, they're super, super, super small.
Yeah, we're actually, I think you were asking, because we're looking to make comparison photos so people can understand what size stuff is.
Yeah.
And we decided that it would be an AeroPress would be the best thing, because usually that's what people have.
Sure.
Because some people don't actually realize how small the Pixis is. I think maybe one of the first images that ever went out of it was that it was like in someone's palm of their hand.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's tiny.
Super tiny. Yeah. It's smaller than a Post-it.
Yeah.
I think that's like the closest thing that you can compare to it. And then some people are like, oh, it's like a Post-it. Let me grab a Post-it. Like, oh, this is perfect. This is like perfect size. It's smaller than that. It also has it has like a lower capacity. So the capacity of the Pixis and Cinco is 500 grams. And 500 grams, to give you an example, a portafilter it weighs 500 grams, like roughly. It can weigh a little more, a little less, but right around that. A portafilter is not going to be your best case scenario for the Pixis is not going to be best case scenario for a portafilter.
I think there's a coffee shop in Hong Kong that is using 2 Pixis scales for espresso.
Yeah, you can totally use it. A demi will fit on it. Some of your larger cups could potentially fit on it, but you're going to have a hard time reading the display. Also, the weight of that cup is going to, push the capacity of that scale.
Yeah. So
we had a customer reach out wanting to brew coffee with the Pixis, and I was trying to push them like either towards Lunar or towards a Pearl, because they were wanting to use it as a travel, and they really loved the small footprint of it. And so, like, if you're brewing mainly pour over, I'm going to say Pearl. Either which way, Pearl Model S. If you don't need all the bells and whistles, go with the original Pearl. It's an incredible scale. It's going to last you years and years and years and years. Again, this one's from 2014, and I haven't needed to replace anything on it. If you want a little more, if you want that new display, you want to be able to upload different coffee recipes, go with the Pro Model S. It's just a $10, $20 more. But they wanted to brew coffee with the Pixis. And we figured out a way. The only way to really do it is you would need like something like a Kalita 155, the smaller.
Oh, the teeny tiny ones?
Yeah. So that would work. You would need to brew like 6 ounces, I want to say, or right around, and use a paper cup as your carafe. It was just about making it as light as possible, and he said that was perfect for them. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but not ideal for most.
Yeah, I've had people they're just talking about tips that even customers have given us. I think there was one person that was before we had released the Pearl S with the portafilter mode. Someone had gone to taken all their portafilters in their shop, and because everything weighs slightly different, they had put they packed the inside of the portafilter with like blue tack. Do you know what? I think you guys have blue tack in the States.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, like so they just like they weighed them out on the scale and made sure that they were even, so they would make their bar flow way quicker.
Yeah. I knew a shop that just had a 2 group head, and the difference was they figured out was the weight of a penny, so they just wrapped a penny on the weight of a penny, like plus a rubber band or something, and they just wrapped that on there on the other portafilter, and so that they were both the same weight.
Nice. Do we have any other questions, or is there anything you would like to like point out or discuss?
So I feel like one of the things that we have available out there in the world that no one really knows about, it's a great training tool. If you are a Brewers Cup competitor, it is a game changer, like 100% a game changer. It's an iPad app. Yes, you have to have an iPad. We don't have it available for Android, and then that has to do with Android not having a I always forget what it's called. Like a dedicated tablet.
Yeah.
Since Samsung makes a tablet, Google makes a tablet, it's easier for us to just develop for this tablet app directly for iPad, as there's only one dedicated iPad. That's a tablet there. So I have like a little setup. I'm going to see if I can angle everything to display it properly.
Oh, nice.
Let's see. So you don't have to have this setup. You don't have to have like the pearl with the lunar on top. This is just kind of a direct example of what is possible. And then I'm able to adjust. I don't know if this is actually going to be able to work because I can't adjust the how the brightness is displayed in the
It's pretty easy
information.
to see.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
you
I'm
can
just
tell
going to
what's
dig
happening.
into it. All right. So this is our dial-in screen. I'm adding the coffee. Sure, this is underneath there. Setting it. I got 26 grams in. I'm tearing out the two scales. And I'm just going to go ahead and start my brew. This is going to eat up about 5 minutes, but I kind of wanted to just show this off. We've
Yeah.
had this for years, like multiple years. I think it launched in like 2017, I want to say.
Yeah, I think so. I think
But we got a
you.
couple different numbers going on. So we've got the total weight, which would be your normal like pour over weight. Then we have the weight that's inside uh, the brewer, inside the Kalita. And then we have two different flow rates. The flow rate going into the Kalita and the flow rate leaving the Kalita into the carafe. Why does this matter? Well, it kind of like gives an indication of how coarse or fine your grind is. Just gonna take that to 250.
And it's also a great thing if you, obviously, if you work in a coffee shop and you're dialing in, you have to dial in every day your filters. It's pretty easy to tell when it's starting to go a little bit quicker and it's rested a little bit more. So you can just
Yeah,
adjust. So it's really good.
from day to day, like coffee to coffee. But you're seeing like the flow rate into the carafe and the flow rate into the brewer. And so, say if you're using a refractometer and you can get your beverage weight along with the extraction percentage. Take it up to my final pour. There we go.
I think you can you connect the fellow kettle to it as well?
Yes,
Yeah.
you can. The EKG Plus
Yeah.
along with Bluetooth. So yeah, we have the flow going into the carafe, or it says like flow into cup. Our total weight, the weight we brewed to, and then like the beverage weight. Now you could use this for just like say a Chemex, or not use the lunar and the full on pour over setup with like the pour over stand. That's just kind of an option that's out there. And I'm gonna, this might work. I'm gonna grab a cup real quick.
Yeah, it's
So I'm
really
gonna
handy.
grab 2 cups. So you're like, whoa, this is super exciting stuff, Tony. Thanks for sharing it. All right. So into the brew. We're gonna hit done. we have this little spider graph. I'm not sure if that's showing. Little spider graph. So you can adjust your sweetness, your aftertaste, the body, clarity, and acidity, which is fun. All right, we're going to save that. That's our new coffee over here again. I don't know if like the brightness is causing it to be too much. So from here, I'm already connected to the scale, right? Okay. Can you see?
Yeah, I can see.
Okay.
I can see the top of it anyway.
Let's see. So this is the coffee that we dialed in, right?
Yeah.
Just going to do a little drag and drop.
Oh, nice.
There. We'll say that's it. And then start. So I'm like replicating the recipe. So say you're the lead tech or like the cafe lead, and you dial in the coffee, and then the rest of the baristas throughout the day are going to try to replicate your recipe. And it could be a coffee educator, it could be really anyone. But the cool thing is that in addition to just doing it on one scale, you can do it on multiple scales.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I've never used this before because I don't have an iPad, but definitely seen a few videos of people using them, which we always like to see.
Yeah.
So just to let you know, we have about 3 minutes left.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I will say that the tech team is going to be, you guys are going to be off on Monday. Sports going to be off on Monday to enjoy the long 4th of July weekend.
Yeah.
So you can still message through social media and I can get back to you that way. So you will be supported until Tuesday.
Yeah. All right. So you can connect multiple scales. You can see I have my Pearl connected. I have my Pearl Model S connected. So if you're a Brewers Cup competitor, you can connect up to 3 scales. You're brewing 3 cups at the same time. Hit done, serve. Within the app, you can compare and contrast your master brew print.
Nice.
And the cup you just brewed. So if you're a Brewers Cup competitor, you can compare like your dial-in to the brew that you just made, and you can compare it to like the 3 different cups as well. And you have an overlay between your master brew print and your most recent cup.
Nice.
Game changer. Can't stress enough. 1,000% underutilized. You compare, if you combined that with the Pro Model S's like flow rate, like flow rate practice mode or flow rate, you could essentially train yourself to use your non-dominant hand.
Oh, nice.
Pour exactly the same. I mean, competitions aren't happening right now, right? Not happening anytime soon.
Yeah.
Start now. Like, I don't want to bring out this information like a week before, competition. And they're like, hey, why didn't you ever tell me about this? Like,
and also training yourself to use your non-dominant hand, as we did on the live we had on Wednesday. The physical therapist was pretty much saying that it's a great idea for your own health to train your non-dominant hand to like do all your coffee jobs. So I'm gonna end it now. But thank you so much, Tony, and thank you to all the people that tuned in. I hope you have a great coffee now, which you conveniently made.
Now I have coffee.
And I hope everyone has a very nice 4th of July weekend. I hope it's safe, very safe. Stay safe, wear a mask.
Staying safe, always wearing a mask when we leave.
Yeah, avoid fireworks.
Yeah, I have a dog, so I do that.
Nice. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Bye.